What up, Bugles? I want to welcome you to this video and to our Comics Bugle channel, your go-to spot for everything Omnibus and oversize. I think we all can agree that X-Men fans are eating good this month. Another week, another X-Men book, and also one highly anticipated one. Yes, X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis Omnibus. The cover price is 150 USD and it have 1,360 pages. This massive volumes collect series as 90s X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, plus material from a handful of annuals, specials, or crossover with a Ghost Rider. There's a lot of comics packed into a one book, and together they tell a very specific chapter in mutant history, the dawn of the blue and gold era. I went with the direct market cover by the legendary Jim Lee, and as you can see, this is pure action-packed artwork. Our beloved mutants code mid-battle, set against a striking white background. Here you can also see the standard cover, also by Jim Lee. It's equally dynamic, full of movement, with the X-Men diving headfirst into combat. Honestly, no matter which cover you go with, you can't go wrong. The back cover mixes the classic Marvel Omnibus design with a bit of a modern twist. Right under the line, the X-Men that define the generation, you will find a story summary and then mini covers of all the issues included in the Omnibus. That's the more traditional part of the layout. Below that, there's also a written listing of the full contents and the creative teams who work on them. All of this is set against the bold yellow background, accented with the blue highlights. After all, this is blue and gold, right? Under the classic Marvel Omnibus logo, the spine keeps the same yellow backdrop, with a blue title and X-Men logo, followed by the creators' names and a small illustration at the very bottom. The boards also stick to the blue and yellow scheme, and honestly, I love it. But instead of spotlighting the heroes, the boards shine on the villains of mutant kind. It's basically a villain showcase, and it looks absolutely epic. Opening the book, we are greeted by a blue and gold opening page featuring the X-Men in action. That's followed by a credit page listing all the talented creators who work on these issues. Then a table of contents. And surprisingly, for a Marvel Omnibus, the contents actually include page numbers for each chapter, which is always a nice touch. After that, we get several variant covers for the very first issue of the 91's X-Men series, before diving straight into the adventure of the two X-Men squads, the Blue Team and the Gold Team. When you think about the most iconic era of X-Men comics, there's a good chance your mind jumps straight to the early 90s. This was the moment when the X-Men were not only Marvel's most popular team, but also a genuine pop culture phenomenon. We are talking trading cards, animated series on the horizon, and the highest selling comic book of all time, X-Men #1 from 1991. And that's exactly where this brand new omnibus, X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis, kicks things off. So let's set the scene. In 1991, Marvel decided to split the X-Men into two core teams. Cyclops would lead the Blue Team, with Wolverine, Gambit, Rogue, Psylocke, and Beast. Meanwhile, Storm commanded the Gold Team, with Jean Grey, Iceman, Colossus, and Archangel by her side. This division allowed the franchise to tell multiple stories at once while still keeping everyone under the same umbrella. It was a clever editorial move, and it also gave Marvel a chance to launch a brand new X-Men title alongside Uncanny X-Men. Of course, the big selling point was the art. Jim Lee was at the height of his popularity, and his redesign of the characters have become definitive to this day. His Cyclops with the straps and the bright blue bodysuit is still what most people imagine when they think of the character. His Psylocke in the purple ninja outfit his Gambit with a trench coat and playing cards, his Wolverine with a sharp mask and feral poses. All of these designs were immortalized not just in the comics, but in toys, video games, and most famously, the animated series that premiered in 1992. And this omnibus gives us that art in oversized format, which is the best way to experience it. Jim Lee's pages are explosive, dynamic, and full of that early 90s energy. You get splash pages that look like posters, double spreads that could hang on your wall, and even when the story slows down for character moments, the artwork keeps the momentum alive. Now, if you are new to the X-Men, you might wonder if this is a good entry point. The answer is yes and no. On one hand, this is a peak X-Men popularity, so we are seeing the franchise at full throttle. The action is big, the villains are memorable, and the character dynamics are really entertaining. On the other hand, the X-Men's continuity is famously dense, and by 1991 you are jumping into the middle of decades of ongoing stories. Some reference might fly over your head. You will hear about the Shadow King, the Legacy Virus, or Moore Island, and not fully grasp the weight behind it. But honestly, that's part of the fun. The X-Men have always thrived on throwing you into the deep end, and then slowly letting you piece together the relationships and the history. And this omnibus actually give you a relatively fresh starting point, the launch of a new team structure with a lot of stories that were meant to be accessible to readers who are just joining in during the boom. Story-wise, one of the highlights is Mutant Genesis, the arc that reintroduced Magneto as a central antagonist. Here we see him not just as a cackling villain, but as a man with a philosophy and a tragic past. Claremont's writings made it clear that Magneto isn't simply evil. He's a survivor of the Holocaust, a man scared by trauma, who believes mutants must fight to avoid suffering the same fate. It's a complex portrayal, and paired with Jim Lee's breathtaking art, it set a tone for how Magneto would be treated for decades afterward. But the omnibus doesn't stop there. You also get the epic crossover Executioner song, which runs through X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, X-Factor, and X-Force. This storyline pits the X-Men against Strife, a clone of Cable that involves assassination attempts and government conspiracies. It's very much a product of the 90s, over the top, action packed, and at times chaotic. But if you are a fan of that style, it's a blast. And having all the tiny issues in one place means you can actually follow the story without having to hunt out a dozen different traits. One thing that really shines in this book is how the blue and gold division creates space for different tones. The blue team stories, drawn by Jim Lee, often lean into flashy battles and big villains. Meanwhile, the gold team arcs in Uncanny X-Men explore more character-driven plots, with artists like Wilco Potaccio bringing a darker and moodier feel to the page. Together, they balance out the reading experience and showcase the range of what the X-Men can be. Now, we have to talk about double dipping. If you already own the X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus Volume 2, a chunk of this material will be familiar. This part of this new omnibus overlaps heavily, since discover X-Men issue 1 through 11, which are also in their book. However, this book goes far beyond the overlap. It continues deep into Uncanny. It includes crossover with other mutant titles, and it gives you the complete blue and gold setup, not just Claremont's and Lee's chapters. So in a way, this is a more comprehensive collection. Think of the X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus Volume 2 as a spotlight of a creative team, while this Mutant Genesis Omnibus is about capturing an entire era. Speaking of behind-the-scenes tidbits, this was also the period when tensions were rising between superstar artists and Marvel editorial. Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and others were becoming celebrities in their own right. Their comics were selling millions of copies, and their names were more recognizable to fans than the Marvel brand itself. By 1992, just a year after some of these issues, Lee and several of his peers would leave Marvel to form Image Comics. That split rocked the industry, and you can kind of feel it brewing in these pages. The art is spectacular, but there are also signs of creator pushing against the constraints of corporate comics. Reading this book with that context adds an extra layer of drama to the whole package. Another thing I want to emphasize is how much nostalgia plays into this omnibus. For readers who grew up with an animated series or the trading cards, these comics are the blueprint for that entire era of X-Men. Seeing Gambit flirt with Rogue, Wolverine clash with Cyclops, Jade and Scott navigating their relationship, Storm leading with Poison and Authority, it all feels like coming home if you grew up with these characters in the 90s. And for newer readers, it's fascinating to see from where so many of those iconic traits and designs comes. As for weaknesses, sure, there are some. The storytelling can sometimes feel dated, with lots of exposition-heavy dialogue and narration boxes spelling out things the art already shows. Some plot lines are a little melodramatic, or meander without resolution. And if you are not a fan of that early 90s aesthetic, the pouches, the giant guns, the shoulder pads, this probably won't change your mind. But honestly, that's part of the charm. It's very of its time, and that makes it both a snapshot of history and a thrilling read in its own right. Let me tell you, the extras in this omnibus are absolutely stacked. We are talking about roughly 120 pages of bonus material, which is no small thing. Inside, you will find creator interviews, including one with Jim Lee himself, plus tons of variant and collected edition covers, promotional materials, trading cards, introduction pulled from the older collected editions, and of course, a wealth of sketches, character designs, panel layouts, page drafts, and even cover drafts. The extras are not only generous, but also really diverse, making it an absolute treat for fans. And that's all. So, is X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis Omnibus worth it? Absolutely. If you are a fan, or if you are new to the world of mutants, this is a celebration of one of the most iconic and defining era of X-Men. If X-Men Blue and Gold Mutant Genesis Omnibus catch your attention, you can order your own copy in our eShop, comicsbugle.com, your friendly neighborhood comic book shop in Europe. Accept a great catalog of collected, deluxe, and absolute editions, epic collections, and omnibuses. We guarantee you eco-friendly Hulkproof packaging, free shipping in whole EU, and option to pre-order your comic book now and pay for it later. You can also split full price to 4 separate payments because we know how expensive these books can be. So check it out, comicsbugle.com. You can find direct links below this video. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out any further videos. In our comment section, let us know what books or topics would you like to see in our videos. And see ya, Bugles!